The episode begins with Einar running and Thorfinn calling out to him to stop Thorfinn. Einar says if Gardar has escaped, he'll surely come looking for Arnheid. Thorfinn asks if Einar will stop Gardar, and Einar replies he's not sure, but there might be something he can do for Arnheid. They both reach the square farm and see Arnheid outside the house. As they approach her, inside the house, Snake says these aren't Gardar, just two slaves, though he forgot their names. Spider asks if they're the master's slaves, and Snake replies they must be Thorfinn and Einar. Spider asks if they should follow them, but Snake says to let them be. Arnheid asks the two if they're here because of Gardar, and Einar is surprised that she knows. She reveals she helped Gardar escape by cutting the ropes, leaving Thorfinn and Einar shocked. Arnheid says she feared they'd be killed, so she acted then. Gardar killed the other guests. Thorfinn notes, things will worsen. They head inside and realize they're being watched. Arnheid explains that after Gardar was injured, she brought him to the master's house during the rain. He fainted during the treatment. The old master helped her hide him. Snake and others now believe Gardar is hiding there and wait for him to show. Einar questions Arnheid's decisions, especially since she's pregnant. Arnheid shares her lost hopes and dreams. Thorfinn and Einar offer to help her and Gardar escape, knowing it'll be difficult. Meanwhile, Snake continues his watch, preparing for what lies ahead. The episode begins with Snake attacking and Thorfinn dodging. Thinking to himself how fast Snake is, perhaps the fastest he's ever faced. Thorfinn evades another strike and kicks Snake back, noting how well he handles a borrowed sword. Snake thinks it's a joke that someone unarmed is fighting him, a warrior raised among nobles. Thorfinn charges, and Snake narrowly avoids the strike, counterattacking fiercely, but Thorfinn lands a punch to Snake's stomach. Snake ramps up his speed, forcing Thorfinn to keep dodging, and lands a kick that sends Thorfinn flying. As Snake prepares a deadly strike, Arnheid pleads for him to stop, offering anything in return. Snake, angered, says life cannot be traded for money. Gardar took 5 lives. When Arnheid and Thorfinn remain silent, Snake says only a life can pay for a life, and stabs Gardar in the chest, shocking everyone. Snake asks if Thorfinn now seeks revenge, but before anything more happens, Gardar suddenly grabs Snake and chokes him unconscious. Arnheid gently tells Gardar to go home, saying no one will stop them now. Gardar awakens, lets Snake go, and asks about Hjalti. Arnheid says she sent him to her brother in America before the fight. Gardar breaks down, realizing how much his brother cared. They thank Sverkel, then Thorfinn and Einar, before leaving. On the cart, Gardar feels cold and sees visions of other slaves. In a dream, he sees Hjalti, embraces him, and promises never to leave again. Finally, Gardar returns home, where Hjalti runs into his arms, and Gardar says, "I'm home." The episode begins with King Canute sailing toward Ketil's farm as the wind favors them. One of the men mentions that if the pace continues, they'll reach in 2 or 3 days. Floki expresses disbelief that the king himself is heading to attack a small farm, something normal Viking soldiers could have handled. Wolf defends Canute's plan, saying a good lord doesn't question the king's decisions. Floki notes Jom's Vikings aren't his concern, but wonders if Ketil and his family will resist. Wolf says Ketil, once known as Iron Fist, shouldn't be underestimated. Meanwhile, Leif arrives at Ketil's farm and is greeted by the workers. Thorgil shocks everyone by pulling Ketil out of a barrel and warning them of an approaching enemy, telling them to prepare. When asked who the enemy is, Thorgil delays the answer and urges everyone to arm themselves. Inside, Ketil is in shock after hearing Arnheid's name, ignoring negotiations with buyers and wandering off. Meanwhile, Snake denies Leif's request to see Thorfinn, as he needs the master's confirmation. Leif insists, but is told he must wait. Elsewhere, Thorfinn regrets fighting Snake and questions if there was another path besides violence. Einar assures him there wasn't. Ketil returns home, finds Arnheid tied up, and upon hearing she tried to escape, becomes enraged. He beats her despite her plea to spare her stomach, revealing she's pregnant. She claims the baby is his, but Ketil, in rage, keeps attacking until Snake stops him. Later, Leif tries to buy Arnheid too, but Ketil refuses, declaring she belongs to him. The episode ends with Ketil preparing for war. The episode begins with evening settling over Ketil's farm, where a large gathering of his men stand before him as he delivers a fiery speech about defending their inherited land from those who seek to take it by force, claims they framed him for crimes he never committed just to justify seizing his property. He rallies the crowd, asking what they'll do if someone tries to steal their land, and they respond, "We'll kill them." Meanwhile, Snake counts around 350 men, but only about 100 are actual fighters. Fox questions the fight's purpose, but Snake explains these men were lured with false promises of debt forgiveness, unaware they'd be facing the king himself. Now that they're here, pride won't let them run. Inside, Thorfinn, Leif, and Einar discuss their escape. Arnheid is unconscious, her condition fragile. They agree to wait one more day. Elsewhere, Canut's army arrives, arrows rain, and Ketil's men scatter in fear. Canut sends a messenger, offering exile over death, but Ketil, insulted, refuses. He rallies his men again, promising rewards to whoever brings the king's head. Snake warns this is suicide. Canut's 100 elite warriors, the Jomsvikings, are far beyond their strength. Snake reveals he once trained under the real Iron Fist Ketil, not this imposter, and now sees it as his duty to protect the farm's people, not the liar. Battle erupts. As the Jomsvikings tear through Ketil's forces, Arnheid wakes, while Thorfinn and his group prepare to flee. In the chaos, Almer panics and Thorgil sneaks behind Canut, preparing to strike. The episode ends. The episode begins with Fox reflecting on how he once thought he was strong after killing 13 people, thinking fighting was fun. But now, facing the Jomsvikings, he realizes the terrifying strength of true warriors and admits he's scared. While they seem to enjoy the bloodshed, chaos unfolds as many soldiers fall. Badger is injured, but Snake rescues him, ordering everyone to retreat. Despite Badger's protests, Snake insists it's over. As they flee, one soldier stays behind and is instantly killed. Ketil, furious, grabs a man and demands why they're retreating. The man mocks him, saying power rules the world and Ketil is finished. Meanwhile, Canut is informed one of his men might have killed Ketil and orders Wolf to investigate. Gil seizes the chance and ambushes Canut, but is surprised when Canut blocks his attack. Canut suffers damage to his right hand, but defends himself until Wolf steps in. Thorgil escapes back into the sea. Canut, impressed by Thorgil's bravery, orders his men to withdraw. Snake finds Ketil unconscious and reminds him he's still the leader of his failed rebellion. Elsewhere, Arnheid lies dying, nor pleads with her to live, declaring his love, but it's too late. Arnheid thanks Thorfinn and Einar before passing away. They bury her, and Thorfinn vows to stop the cycle of violence. He tells Leif he must face Canut and end the conflict. Leif pleads with him to leave, but Thorfinn walks ahead, determined to stop more bloodshed. The episode ends with him marching into the storm.